Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, oh friends, it is a splendid Oregon right now. Literally gloriously splendid. I can't even tell you how excited I am about the weekend ahead, but it is the first weekend in April and it is going to be right around 70 degrees both days. Just perfect and splendid to boot. You heard me say first weekend in April. This episode is actually dropping on Monday, April 6th, and April is Alcohol Awareness Month. This was something that started historically from the recovery industry, trying to educate people on alcohol use disorder and understanding options for recovery. But I think nowadays I like to think of Alcohol Awareness Month as broadening our awareness of alcohol narratives and the options that we have to help us become more mindful around drinking, and also just things that support a healthy relationship with alcohol. One of those partners that I've had for many years now is moderation management. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with moderation management, but I don't know if you're familiar with moderation management 2.0, as I like to call it, and the way that moderation is really working to help people across the globe and doing it in ways that I think are so beneficial and without judgment and without needing to claim sobriety, also in very personal ways with meetings and online meetings that are happening all the time and ways for you to connect with others. So I wanted to share the story behind moderation management, the things that are happening there. Again, I've talked to years ago now, Mary Hickey Reed, who was the executive director then, and now I want to introduce you to Andrea Pain. I think you're going to enjoy our conversation. I hope you learned something about moderation management that you didn't know already, and I hope you check it out as a resource for helping you support this new relationship with drinking that you want to have. Here is my conversation with Andrea Pain, the Executive Director of Moderation Management. Hey, Andrea, thank you so much for being here on the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. This is a fun conversation for me because I feel like I'm talking to an old friend. You and I have known each other for quite a while now, worked together, and I really want to help spread the word about moderation management and all the good work that you're doing over there. So thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Molly. I'm really excited to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you so that we can together spread the word about MM.
Yeah. So you are now the executive director of moderation management. But I think that when we first started working together, you were in charge of operations. I don't remember exactly which hat you were wearing at the time, but you wear many, but now you are the executive director. Tell me a little bit about your journey to get here and what that means to you and how what you do in your role there.
Sure. Well, it was a long, winding road for me to get to MM to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of started, it did start with my mom, who joined AA at the tender age of 80 years old.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and that was 14 years ago. My mom just turned 94. And she joined the organization because she knew that she needed to make a change in her drinking habits. And as somebody close to her, watching how this affected her, I saw this incredible transformation. Um, Not just as a result of her not drinking, but she had lost my dad. We had lost my dad about a year and a half before that. And she found within AA a sense of community and a sense of purpose that really gave her a new lease on life. And I remember craving that for myself and
Hmm.
thinking, wow, I think that, I understood the benefits, obviously, of stopping drinking, but just the camaraderie and the support that she got from her group, going through that process. And, I had been taking a long, hard look at my own drinking habits at that point. Tried, went through that whole process of, okay, I'm not going to drink today, or I'm going to drink less today, or whatever, and found myself in that cycle of wanting to make change, but not being able to make change on my own. And so it got me thinking, I wonder if there's something out there that would support reduced drinking as opposed to stopping drinking
Hmm.
altogether, because I didn't really believe that I needed to stop. I did believe that I needed to make some changes in my drinking habits, and I was starting to feel the negative physical effects, and I knew that I needed to change. That got me Googling. I came across moderation management. At the time, they had a couple of, I think, phone meetings that were like conference calls, and then the rest were in-person meetings. And they were all in the US. There was only a handful of them that were active, probably 10 or 12 at the time. And they had a couple of online communities, but they just didn't really resonate with me until fast forward. So that was to 24, where are we? 20
2026.
2026. So that was 2012.
Wow.
And in 2019, so it took me that all that time to
Uh-huh.
get to, yeah, I guess it was 2019. I kept checking back with MM. Do they have a meeting in Toronto? I live just outside the city of Toronto. Do they have a meeting, or is somebody starting a meeting? I just kind of tried to figure out how to get involved, but I just let it ride. And then in 2019, they started a Facebook group. I happened to check the website, and right before that, they had a little icon on the website that said join our Facebook group. And it was only supposed to be a 1 month group. They called it Moderation Month. They posted a tool every day, and those who had joined kind of talked about their journey and incorporated their learnings from using the tools that were shared on the Facebook group every day. And I knew I'd found my tribe. And immediately I had this sense of, why doesn't everybody know about this? There are so many people that I know that could benefit from this. And I was lucky enough to stumble across it, but I just had this incredible sense of, I gotta be a part of making sure that more people find out about this organization. So I started by, first of all, I started my own in-person meeting just outside, just west of the city of Toronto in my then hometown. And and then I started volunteering with the operations team. I got involved in helping launch the Kickstart program. I flash forward a couple of years later, I was invited to join the staff. And, I use the term loosely because we are a very, very lean operation, but I was invited to join as the program manager. So I helped with Kickstart and meetings and all of our other activities that we have going on. And then when our previous wonderful executive director, Mary Reed, who it's her birthday today,
It is her
happy
birthday today.
birthday, Mary.
I saw that on Facebook. Wished her
Yeah.
happy birthday. Hi, Mary.
Um, And when she decided to retire a couple of years ago, she approached me about taking over for her. So here I am. I started as the interim executive director, and then about a year later became the permanent executive director, and here I am a year later.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
You forgot to
So,
mention your long list of volunteer activities for moderation management. You forgot to mention Dryuary, which is where I think you and I first got to
right,
our the bulk of our work together with was trying to get or working on that program for
right.
MM. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That was one of the programs that fell
Yep.
under
You're program
my
manager. Yeah.
tenure. Yeah.
Well, so this I like to say that I mean moderation management's been around. What's funny when you say like I Googled, right? And you're like, there's gotta be something.
Mhm,
And yet we both know moderation management's been around for a long time.
mhm,
Long time. And what do you think? What do you think is some of the, I mean, you mentioned the very small and lean staff, right?
mhm,
So many people, I think, have this impression of moderation management like AA, like it's this big national, international, you know, nonprofit organization, but it isn't. It's a much smaller, leaner ship. And that has presented some challenges with regards to getting the word out. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Moderation management, as you know, was founded in 1994, so we celebrated 30 years last year. And over that time, the internet wasn't even invented
Yeah,
yet
right,
when it
exactly.
started. It started as in-person meetings in major cities. They did grow and expand, and I wish that I knew how they went about at that time spreading the word.
Right.
Um, and but and then they developed some of the online communities such as the listserv and the forum, which were, the
The
first
first ones.
online communities that were even, available through the internet. And that would have been in the kind of the late 90s that those things emerged. Um, but even then, it's always sort of been this small, tight-knit community, people who have found MM and then, developed relationships with people within MM, and that's, where they found their strength. And I think that that is really one of the unique properties of MM is that we do have a really strong core.
Hmm.
Even though we are a national and now fully online organization, other than one in-person meeting that we have in Northern Virginia, all of the in-person meetings that we had that were active were shut down at the beginning of COVID. And we moved to the Zoom platform, which actually has been a real blessing for us because now we can host anybody from anywhere, anytime,
Hmm.
at our online meetings. And, our
I know
Facebook.
the Across the Pond group is really active.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and yeah, and we've got some early day meetings here in North America that help to serve the folks that are in the EU and beyond. Um, and so, um, I think I think from a growth perspective, what we've had to do is kind of catch up to how does an organization grow and scale today?
Hmm.
And um, and in order to do that, we really just needed to start to figure out how are we going to expand that reach? How can we reach more people? How can we get beyond just those who stumble across us on Google like I did,
Hmm.
and really get out in front of them? And shortly after I took over as executive director, uh, I think can't remember if it was just no, it was immediately after that we had a volunteer step forward who was a marketing professional on the operations side. So she's not on the design or
Right.
creative, but works with designers and creative types. and knows how to execute on a marketing campaign. So she started volunteering with us, and then I brought her on as a very part-time, paid marketing coordinator. And now she's just passed her 1 year anniversary as our marketing director. So she now takes care of all marketing and fundraising. That's Emily, our
Mhm.
wonderful growth marketing director, and it's really been eye-opening for me. I don't have a background really in marketing. I have a sales and relationship management background in financial technology services, which couldn't be more um, at opposite ends of the spectrum from what we're doing here. Um, but with Emily's help, we've learned to how can we, on this razor thin shoestring budget, how can we start to, marketing takes money. It's an
Yep.
expensive endeavor. And, so we've just been kind of picking away at what are the right choices that we can make financially that will give us the most exposure for the least expenditure. And we're starting to get there. We're
Yeah.
starting to get there. And at the same time, with Emily also taking care of fundraising, we actually just had our biggest fundraising year ever in 2025. She did an amazing job. And so that, it's starting to build a little bit of a momentum where we've got a little bit of extra money to pour back into um, you know,
Just every,
directly into creating more awareness
yeah.
and what are some really creative and cost-effective ways that we can do that.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned it takes, yes, it either takes money or it takes time, right? I always say that in marketing, it's leveraging
Yeah.
either time or money. And if you don't have a lot of money, it's going to take more time,
Right.
just the way it is in a very, very noisy world.
Yeah.
Um, that's everyone's competing for everyone's attention. So, on that note, let's talk a little bit about what differentiates
Mhm.
MM from, all these. There's because since MM started and since, MM was one of the programs that's been around for 30 years, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of Johnny come lately in the alcohol space, right?
Right.
So, let's talk about what makes MM special.
I think first and foremost, um, MM is about community.
Mm-hmm.
It's about people coming together to support each other. And we always say, we don't tell you what to do, we tell you what worked for us. That's
Mm-hmm.
always been the mantra of MM. And um, and so, for people to be able to come together, learn from others, share their own experiences, and find out based on that, collecting information. I think about, I likened it to when I first found out that I was going to have a baby. I was like, oh man, what do I do now? And I'm that kind of person who just needed to collect all the information, right? And there are so many different approaches to, going through a successful pregnancy and childbirth and raising your child and nursing your child and all of those and such a diverse range of approaches that I took it upon myself to just gather it all together and then sift through and figure out what's going to work for me. And MM is not unlike that, in that there are so many different ways, so many different approaches to tackling this drinking thing. But what we do in MM is we all come together and share. Oh, I tried this thing and that was really successful for me. And some people tried it and that wasn't so successful for them. But it's information that they can gather, and then from there, what they can do is really build their own path. Define their own journey in terms of how they get to where they want to be. MM offers moderate drinking guidelines. And back in the day when MM was first founded, they really stringently adhered to those guidelines. In fact, there was uh, originally there was documentation within the program that said if you can't drink within these moderate drinking guidelines, then you probably need to
Yeah.
seek source of support. We have really softened that approach to say, you know what, here, and I'll say we've done that over the past like less than 10 years, where we've started to say, you know what, here are some guidelines that were developed in the mid 90s. They were based on research that was accurate and real right then. Things have changed. You'll see different guidelines from different government agencies in different countries. And it's all very confusing because what are the right moderate drinking limits? We've stood by those original moderate drinking guidelines because feels like those are guidelines that feel accessible and approachable and achievable for most people.
Hmm.
But we also say you can just use those as exactly what they are. They're guidelines. They are a way for you to, maybe start to formulate what your future with alcohol looks like. But you didn't get here overnight, and you're not going to get there overnight. So
Hmm.
let's just work together to figure out what's going to work for you in the interim.
Hey, just a quick break to talk with you for a minute about Sunnyside. You hear me talk about it on the show often, and it really is my number one recommendation for a mindful drinking app. People use this tool in my groups, in my classes, and they tell me all the time how much they really appreciate the fact that Sunnyside is a very positive reinforcement. And what I mean by that is that when you track your drinks, and let's just say you planned for one drink and you ended up having two. If you're honest and you track that second drink, you're not going to get a message that shames you in any way or reprimands you. You're actually going to get positive reinforcement for tracking a drink that you didn't plan on, and some ideas and some suggestions for maybe going and grabbing a snack or getting some water. Sunnyside is like having a coach in your pocket, and I love that. You can try it for a 15-day free trial. Go to www.sunnyside.co/Molly to get started today.
I think the flexibility that offers in terms of what's going to work for you today, what's going to work for you in the future, what do you want your future to look like, and how can we together support each other to get to where we collectively want to be, which is not always exactly the same place. According to our latest uh, membership survey, participant survey, 95% of the people who responded to the survey said that they have reduced their drinking through by some measure.
Mhm.
10% said that they stopped drinking altogether. So moderation is a way for people to find, in many cases, it creates a pathway towards abstinence, but it's a step that they can take to start making changes in a way that feels right and achievable for them. And and we do that, like I said, through sharing our experiences. And I think that's what really makes us different. We don't say you got to do this. We don't have steps. We don't have requirements. The only requirement is to want to change your drinking habits.
Mhm.
And that's it. We did develop our Kickstart programs a few years ago. I think we launched the first one in 2021. Kickstart Moderation. We launched Kickstart Zero Proof last year, which is helping somebody get through 30 days of not drinking, which is one of the things that we suggest that people endeavor to do. It used to be, again, back in the day when
Right. One
MS
of those more
started,
stringent. Yeah.
it was you need to start with 30 days alcohol free. And if you can't
Right.
do that, then you should probably seek other treatment. And now 30 days is considered, again, maybe one of those goals that you set for yourself eventually to take 30 days off. But a lot of people can't do it right from the
No,
get-go.
I
So
sure couldn't.
I couldn't either.
Yeah.
And so we don't want that to disqualify anybody from seeking and receiving support to make changes in their drinking. So I mean, Kickstart is, they are 30-day programs. It's a lesson a day, a tool a day, an activity, task, whatever, to help you start to actually implement some of these changes. Um, but again, not prescriptive.
Hmm.
You don't even have to do the 30 days of the programs in the order in which they're presented, other than, the system kind of delivers one per day.
Right.
But you can go back and review them and redo them and just continuously learn from those programs. But again, they're more about sharing experiences than they are telling anybody what to do.
Yeah, and let's talk about how
Mhm.
that the mechanisms for sharing, because I think that's, in my opinion, one of the things that's really the most awesome thing about moderation management. How many meetings are hosted online every week?
We have at least 30 every week.
30, folks.
Um,
30
yep,
meetings. So
30 meetings.
like,
Every day of the week, we have at least two meetings.
mhm. And
Um,
they are typically, there's some that are, I mean, they're kind of dedicated or niched, right? So like groups for women and groups for, I don't, you tell me.
Yeah, so some of them are.
Yeah.
Um, I think we've got three meetings that are specifically for women. We have one meeting that's specifically for men. We have a meeting that's specifically for people in the younger demographic. We call it the Millennials meeting. We might have to change that up to Gen Z.
Yeah.
Our millennials are aging out. Um, but it's really targeted towards giving people in their 20s and 30s the opportunity to talk about the unique challenges that um, that their drinking problem poses to them in that age group. Because dealing with it in your 20s and 30s is very different from dealing with it in your 50s and 60s.
Yep.
Our age demographic does tend to be in the older, sort of 40 to 60 age range. I think that's because of the prevalence of our Facebook group.
Hmm.
Um, and we haven't quite, caught up on some of the other more current platforms, online platforms. Um, but we do give space to those younger people to talk about their unique challenges. We have an LGBTQ group. We have an ADHD and other neurodivergencies group. So, folks, there is a strong correlation between
Yes.
ADHD and drinking problems. And so, those who have been diagnosed with any kind of divergency. They come together. That's one of our Sunday meetings, and they come together and again talk about the unique challenges of those two things.
Hmm.
Again, not from a medical perspective and not from a diagnostic perspective, but just simply, I live with this and it affects my drinking in this way. And how do you navigate that, from a peer-to-peer perspective? What other unique meetings do we
Well,
have?
that's quite a few. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of support here, folks. This is, and for somebody to get involved, how easy is it for somebody if they just want to jump on and find a meeting? How does that happen?
On our website, we have a meeting calendar. Our homepage, there's a find a meeting button, and it takes you to the whole monthly calendar and a list of all of the upcoming meetings. We occasionally throw in special presentations. Molly has done a few of those for us in the past. Sometimes those get overlapped with
Meetings.
one of the meetings. This week, for example, we've just started last fall a meeting specifically for people who struggle with binge drinking. So we've noticed that people with drinking problems fall into pretty much two general groups. One is people who drink every day and are really struggling to just take a day off here and there or string a couple of abstinence days together, but are really working to,
Hmm.
eliminate daily drinking from their lives. And then there's the other group of people who can go days, weeks, even months sometimes without drinking, but once they start, they can't stop, and it always ends badly. And so we started a Battle of the Binge meeting, and it's just taken off. It's one of our most highly attended meetings right
Mm-hmm.
from the start. We get over 20 people every week. This week we have somebody, Anna Charles, coming to talk to us about, she actually wrote a book called The Off Switch. So she's going to share some of her insights in terms of finding that off switch when those who struggle with binge drinking decide that they're going to drink. How do they keep it from going off the rails? Um, and we've got we actually brought on a clinical director this year as well. Madeline Zimmerman is a licensed clinical social worker herself, and she's been working with the professionals that we offer on our provider directory that offer additional professional support to folks who come to for the mutual peer support. We always recommend pairing that with professional support if you can, through a therapist or a counselor or even a coach, to help, on an individual basis, more define what their path or journey might look like. So Madeline has been working with some of our providers again to provide more clinical insights for folks who are interested in that. We actually have a presentation on Thursday this week called Alcohol in the Body. And it focuses on physical effects of alcohol and what we can do about that. So there's lots of opportunities for people to get involved, and it's as simple as when you get on when you're on the calendar, there is a link to join the meeting, and you simply click. It will say click here to join the meeting, and you click there and
You're
at the
there.
prescribed meeting time, and you will be admitted by the host to the meeting. So it's really, really easy for people to get involved. If you're unsure, you can leave your video off and not share. But I've seen so many people start with video off and changing their name to just listening. And by the end of the meeting, they're turning their video on and sharing because they're inspired by others to speak up and share their own experiences. And the last one I'll talk about is our newcomers meeting. So we have 4 newcomers meetings a week, 2 during the day and 2 during the evening. And they are a great way for somebody to get to know a little bit more about using a Zoom, an interactive Zoom platform like this. It starts with a brief presentation that walks people through all of the different types of support available through and it ends with a sharing session. So people who are finding us for the first time can talk about what's brought them to and what they hope to learn and gain by being involved with our organization. And that is our only open meeting, so that friends, family members, professionals, students, anybody who's interested in can join our newcomers meetings. Outside of that, our meetings are pretty much reserved for people who are struggling with their own drinking, and we do ask people to at least let us know if they're not there for their own drinking problem, so that we can make sure that people in the room are comfortable with somebody observing. And if they're not, we redirect them to the newcomers meetings.
That's awesome. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, Andrea, this is Alcohol Awareness Month, and there's a lot going on in April to just bring more attention to different, it was started from the recovery industry, but I think now just understanding all the options and the narrative around alcohol and different options with regards to changing your relationship with alcohol. And Moderation Management has been doing this. They were here for 30 years doing very good work. And the meetings are something that I just think not enough people really understand and know about. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's just, an easy, free, by the way,
Mhm.
folks, you know,
Just going to add
resource.
that.
Yeah. So this is a free resource. I mean, of course, this is a nonprofit, so donations are always appreciated and will always help. But if you are struggling, and right now, I know people's finances are really, this is a tough time for many people. This is a great opportunity to go get some support if that's something that you're looking for.
Absolutely. And that is one of our values is that MM offers free support. Our Kickstart programs, we do request a donation for simply because there is, the additional cost of keeping those programs going. But we always offer support for those who we would never want a donation to be a barrier to people getting the support that they need. Um, so, we always offer alternatives for those who are just not in a position to make a donation at the time. And
Yeah.
we do find that when things improve, people always come around and
And,
offer a
and
donation in the future. But our meetings are all free. And of course, we've got a very large and vibrant Facebook group now. That little 1 month Facebook group that I joined in 2019, that had maybe a couple hundred people, is now over 8,500 people strong
yep.
and very active, very supportive, very positive. It is
Well
monitored,
monitored. Yeah, exactly.
well
We're both
monitored,
saying
so
the
that
same thing. So,
yeah, so that you'll always just find nothing but compassion, absolutely no judgment. That is um, again, a real tenet of what we do. We meet people where they're at. Where are you today? And how can we help you in this moment? Find some empowerment to start making changes. And so the Facebook group, the meetings, and the Kickstart participants have their own separate Facebook group as well.
mhm,
The Kickstart programs are available year round on what we call a self-guided basis, which is just basically
great.
sign up and start whenever. A few times a year, we will invite people to start the program all at the same time. So we did that for Dryuary. We're just finishing up Miles for Moderation, which is a program that combines health and fitness goals with moderation goals. And then, we'll do it again in July for Dry July, where we'll just invite people. Let's all start the same day and support each other through this 30 days of learning to moderate, or taking 30 days off drinking, or 30 days of combining health and fitness with moderation goals.
Yeah. Well, it is exciting. It's wonderful work that you and the rest of the small but mighty team over at Moderation Management are doing. I really appreciate you coming on today and talking about it. I think if nothing else, folks, you hear in from both myself and Andrea. I've been involved with MM for 5 years now, in a volunteer capacity, and been a great partner. We support each other, and I think that you can hear it from both Andrea and I. We just want you to check it out. We want you to come. I tell people all the time that you have to be willing to take a step in the direction of where your long-term goals are, right? No matter where you are. And I really appreciate you saying we meet people where they're at.
Mhm.
You can't look at what I do or what anybody else does and think that that's, if you're not doing that, it's not good enough. You have to meet yourself. We got to start where we are, take a small step, and keep going. Just really appreciate you coming on and sharing that message.
Thank you so much for having me, Molly. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and it's always a pleasure to talk about MM for me.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I really hope your audience will take a look at what we have to offer
Yeah, so
and
let's talk about that. Let's give them that URL. You say it right now for them.
moderation.org is our main website. And the front page will take you to wherever you need to go. You can find meetings from there. You can find our Kickstart programs from there. You can find our other online support communities like our Facebook group, all from moderation.org. And you're also welcome to reach out to me directly at any time. I'm Andrea at moderation.org. Pretty easy to find. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah. If you're not in the Facebook group, check that out too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Andrea Pain, thank you so much for being here and sharing the message, especially during Alcohol Awareness Month. Let's everybody take a step towards that new relationship with alcohol.
Thanks so much, Molly.
Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 2 different ways, and you can learn about them over at my website. Go to www.mollywatts.com/workwithme or reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email, molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and decide what might work best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going. If there's one thing I know, it's that change is way easier when you stop trying to do it alone.